Hello my friends, it's Thursday, it's Andre here again, and as you can see there is no intro theme today. One new thing that I decided to do, because every stream I talk about how I'm gonna, update the graphics, because since I've switched from Twitch to YouTube, I have kept the same themes and everything. So I decided, because I never, can get to it due to other responsibilities. So I decided that until I have a new theme, I will not play the old one. Maybe that'll pressure me into doing something new. The other thing is that the song that I used for a theme was a copyrighted one, even though it said on YouTube it's not. But, well, what you can do. So until then, no intro, and hopefully next time I'll come back with a new and fresh design for the stream. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. Maybe tomorrow, we at Kentico have Innovation Fridays, so maybe tomorrow I'll get to it in scope of my innovation time. Of course, I have 5 other things that I want to do tomorrow, so we'll see about that. Anyway, last time we were looking at Cloudflare. Of course, I found out that Cloudflare Pages, the new offering from Cloudflare towards Jamstack enthusiasts, is still hidden under beta. So I requested access, on stream last time, and they just sent me a confirmation email saying that someone is going to be in touch. That didn't happen yet. So still waiting, still, hoping for the best. But until then, I decided to focus on different topics. Now, first of all, or first of them, obviously I want to look at Vue 3 as well, because I haven't been, building stuff on Vue 3 for quite some time, and there are some significant improvements in Vue 3 and definitely Next as well. So I'll be getting back to those, but this time actually something that is very current for me. That's a problem that I stumbled upon earlier this week, and as you know, obviously I work for Kentico for a headless CMS called Content, and we have a group of MVPs. MVP is the most valued professional. I can show you how these guys look like. We have a page, Content AI/MVP program. You'll find all MVPs here, so a few nice guys. But what each of these MVPs do is they create articles, they create videos, they speak at conferences. Basically, they take their knowledge and give it back to the community, which is a great thing to do. Now, what we do is we are trying to keep track of those activities. The end goal is to provide some kind of a stream, some stream that would some kind of like an RSS feed that would show all the activities of all these MVPs, because it's a really valuable content, and we want to have it on a single place so that we can market it properly, we can share it with the community, and so on. So that's the end goal, and for that we decided to use content, obviously. But what you see on the screen now are the workflow steps that I created in a completely new project for content MVPs. Now, what this project does, or what it will do, is that every MVP will go in and add their content. So whenever they publish an article, or if I publish an article, we will just add it here as a content item, so that we have everything in one place. Now, what you see is the workflow process of all steps that are in the project. And so the way how we want to do it, because we also evaluate these things. Whenever you publish an article, I guess that makes you happy, right? When you click that publish button. But what eventually makes you happy, or the core reason why you're doing that, is so that people can look at it, so that people can get some valuable information from your article, so that you share your experience. And exactly for that purpose, we have a process that when you publish an article, then you come back in 2 weeks and see how successful that article is. If it gets 1,000 page views, if it gets 10,000 page views, if it gets 1 million page views, and the higher the number, the more it motivates you, obviously, as a writer, because you know that it helped the community. So that's the whole point behind this system. And what you see here are the workflow steps. Now, there's the first one is draft. Obviously, every content item that you create is in draft. Then the document, when it goes to process, that means that the content item is finished. So article is published and we create the record here. And we know that everything is all right. We have the URL and we have the name of the article, everything. So we move it to process. It goes to the next workflow step. And from there, it can go to waiting for evaluation. That is, if that's an article that we want to get back to in 2 weeks. But if we look at, for example, conferences, we can average like how many people were looking at the presentation that we did, right? So at that point, we don't need to wait for evaluation. Yeah, we can evaluate that activity or that action right away. So in that case, we don't need to go to waiting for evaluation, but we can go directly to waiting for approval. At that point, this is like an additional check when some other MVP can go in and approve that everything is all right. Yeah. But you see, there is already some kind of logic here that some of these processes or some of these transitions will be done automatically, like from process to waiting for evaluation or straight to waiting for approval. This is going to be handled by a serverless function, likely. Yeah, based on the type of the content, it will do this automatically. The point here that I have is that this is still quite an easy workflow. Yeah, it's got 4 or 5 steps, but still it's not as easy to navigate through the workflow. You have to go see what steps are available as the next steps, or where the content item in this workflow step can transition to. So it's not the best way how we can see this, how we can visualize this process. So that's what I want to do today, yeah. Because the workflow steps from this project, I can get it through a Management API. So we should be able to touch these. And I want to build a nice diagram that would show me all the actions, somehow like how the workflow steps are connected to each other, how a document can advance through all the processes. So that's the use case for today, yeah. And if you guys know about a good JS library that I could use, let me know. I tried to Google some. My Google search showed me a bunch of results. So I'll try to find the best one for my use case and then implement it. So I assume that all of this is not going to take more than 1 hour. We'll see. So first of all, let's take a look at this article. I found this article. It seems like a good place to start. Top 13 JavaScript diagram libraries. Of course, first I tried to use D3 or Chart.js, but D3, I'm not a big fan of D3 because there is, as far as I know, there is no good documentation, but they try to motivate you to learn from examples, right? So you usually take the example of a chart or a diagram that is closest to your use case, and you then try to work from that. I'm not a big fan of that approach. Yeah, I prefer like clear documentation. So that's why I was looking for diagram libraries. Chart.js is also nice, but Chart is something a little bit different. I was looking for diagram examples, but there were not many. Yeah. So that's why I decided to do another query for diagram libraries. Now, I landed on this article, and this article has a lot of good tips, but some of them are paid. Yeah, of course we're looking at non-commercial right now because I wanna make this open source and not charge anyone for it. But eventually, I'm just much bigger fan of things that I can use also commercially for free. You remember my theme song, yeah? That was copyrighted too. So I prefer to use uncopyrighted things, especially if they are open source. That's even better. So you see, this would be nice, but it has this problem. The DHTMLX also looks great, and I can already see the workflow steps here and the arrows between them. But again, this is quite expensive when you want to use it for commercial purposes. So the next thing I stumbled upon was Go.js. Now this looks like something I want to do, right? I want to have these workflow steps here, maybe some messages on the arrows between them. And it's free. Commercial license, of course, $4,000 to $10,000, which is not cheap. Now, I'm not sure if there is anything that we can, oh, here we go. Apache 2 license free. So we can use Google organization chart. Okay, what about this one? JS Plump Toolkit. I haven't, studied these. So this one is also paid. What about Kendo UI? This is also paid. Okay, now this one is free. So MX Graph, we can use that. That looks like, that looks nice actually. Maybe this would be a way to go. These workflows here, that could work. Org chart, commercial license, so this is also paid. This one is also paid. This one too. This one is free, but looks a little bit differently than what I need. Okay, what about this one? This one is also paid, and this one too. So, okay, I think that the best one was the org chart, was it? No, not the org chart, maybe one up. MX Graph. Okay, utilizes SVG and HTML, that looks good. Client-side JavaScript, that's also fine. I don't need to create a whole application around this. No integrations, but that's fine. So let's see. Let's take a look. I also found some additional ones like Cytoscape. I don't know. I haven't had the pleasure of working with this yet, but let's take a look at this one first. So, oh, okay. In November last year, the development on MX Graph has now stopped. This repo is effectively end of life. All right. Probably the not best thing to learn about a library that you want to use, right? So I guess we're moving on. Like maybe this would work well, but from open source, I'm used to not work with libraries that are not under active development. So let's switch out from that. I found some additional ones like JS diagram chart here. This one looks a bit too basic in my eyes, right? So I would just treat it as a fallback. Now let's take a look at so GoJS is not free as far as I know, right? So I guess we're left with Cytoscape. JS, okay, let's see on the main page what that is. But I don't see any buy button, so this should be good. So you can donate. Yeah, this looks good. So let's see. Intro, what is Cytoscape? Documentation, tutorials. Okay, here we go. So obviously I want to use JavaScript, right? Because with JavaScript, I can use the Content Management API to get me all the workflow steps. And that's my source of data. So obviously I want to use JavaScript. Now let's see. Data visualization. Let's take a look at what kind of examples are here. This tutorial, okay, let's go next. No, I don't want this kind of tutorial. Okay, maybe I'll just go back to js.cytoscape. Okay, now let's find one that is closest to what I need. So we're probably looking at h types, blah, blah, blah. I guess something like this would work. Right? We can even move this around. Cool. So how do we, there we go, Popper.js extension. A wrapper for Popper.js that lets you position diffs relative to Cytoscape elements. Okay, so this requires me to create diffs, it seems. Sticky paper content, usage with tp.js. No, that seems a bit too complicated. Let me see if there is a... I can't even right click here. And I accidentally closed that tab. Okay, what about this one? This seems like it could work. Biological networks via Cytoscape. Okay, it looks a bit too complicated. Okay, area of nodes. This is what I'm looking for, right? Nodes and edges. So, but this seems like a whole project, including the data. Maybe we're looking for something a bit more simple. Okay, let's start with the basics, right? I'm gonna create here a folder that says workflow visualization. Nope. I'm gonna open here Visual Studio Code. Because not everyone likes Notepad. I do, but apparently this one's better. And let's create a new file here. Let's call that index.html. Nope, HTML boilerplate. Okay. Now this gives me a nice HTML5 frame. Now I can follow this tutorial. Okay, let me just make this one a little bit bigger. Okay, maybe hide this. And let's include the Cytoscape here. Is there a, yeah, there is a CDN, perfect. Let's use the first one. Okay, here we go. Or copy the script tag. Just gonna put it here. Perfect. Now to use Cytoscape, okay, please do not hot link to copies from the documentation, of course. Now, Cytoscape, I included the cytoscape.min.js, minified UMD build with all dependencies included in the bundle. This file is used for small pages, supplementary material for an academic paper, for example. Perfect. That's what I want. Yeah. We could potentially use some of these other ones, like if we want to debug. Yeah. On small pages or so on, but I expect that everything's gonna work well. So let's assume that it's gonna be the case, and let's move on. So Cytoscape uses the dimensions of your HTML DOM container. That's fine. It's important to place your CSS style sheets in the head before any Cytoscape related code. Okay. So we need our styles here. Your style sheet may include something like this. Okay. Let's use that. And I assume we're gonna need a div element with CY in the body. Okay. Now, an instance of Cytoscape corresponds to a graph. You can create an instance as follows. All right, I assume that we're now talking about a script here. Let's do this, text JavaScript. And we're gonna copy this over. So container is document get element by ID cy. So that's exactly what I needed to do. So cy. You can pass a jQuery instance as the container for convenience. No, I don't want to use jQuery. So we're good. If you are running Cytoscape in Node.js, we're not. In implicitly headless environments like Node.js, yeah, no need to do that. Specifying basic options. Okay. The container elements, style, and layout options usually should be set. All right. So elements, okay, cy is Cytoscape. We set the container, right? So we are here. So this is already in our page. Now we need to do the elements part. So elements is going to be an array. And there is one ID A, ID B. Okay, let's just copy this over. A, B, and the last one is ID AB. Source is A, target is B. Okay, now that makes sense. So let's remove this. Now style sheet for the graph. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this. We can adjust it later if we want. There we go. Okay, one more. So style, and now the selector. Oh, this is also style. Okay. Selector, style. Okay. Okay, this goes one little to the right. All right, now then the layout. And name is grid and one row. Okay. Fine. Now that you have a core graph instance with basic options, explore the core API. It's your entry point to all the features. Okay, now let's see what this does then. I'm just gonna open it. Okay, I don't see anything. Unexpected identifier. On line 33. Oh, here it is. Okay, I forgot one comma here. Nice. Okay, now we got A and B here. Of course, this is hidden, right? Because we've set that it's gonna be 300 by 300 pixels. Now, let's switch that to 100 and 100. Okay, and then that will obviously be nothing, yeah, because we haven't done the same for HTML and body. So width and height. Yeah, that helps. Okay, so now we have these two things. This is nice. Now let's see what else we can do. So potentially we could do, like, we could copy this workflow, right? We could do data, or what we can we somehow change? Let me see the documentation. So we're using the elements, events, animation, collection. So what I'm trying to figure out is if we can make this ID like a GUID and then make a title here or something. So let's see, graph model. Elements, edges, no. Okay, there's a lot of options here. Elements JSON, okay. Now this is probably what I'm looking for. Elements, we can say, okay, group nodes, classes, no. This is just the configuration options, but we are looking for data. Here we go. So this defines rendered position, this defines parent. but how can we change the label? Okay, so here's style. Okay, now I see. Okay, so the label is data ID. So what if we do title equals draft, for example? So I guess we can do data, not ID, but data title. And now this doesn't work. Okay, let's see why it doesn't work. Cannot create a B with non-existent source A. Of course, because I changed the ID. So the source is going to be GUID. Because we're going to need to use, when we get the dynamic data here, we're going to need to use something that is very unique. And that will be the GUID of the workflow step, right? That's why I'm trying to do this. Yeah, you see now that we have a draft here and we have the unnamed step here, but this is good. So now we can call this one process. Or this is going to be GUID2. And the title is going to be process. And the target, of course, needs to be changed. So this is going to be GUID2. Perfect. So now we have draft, we have process. And now let's see if we can do also the arrow back, because this one can transition to draft as well. So we can do another one. ID is going to be BA, source GUID2, and target GUID. Okay, perfect. Now it shows the both arrows here, right? It's kind of nice. It moves these arrows around. Nice. Okay, so this one is working. Now the next step would be to figure out how we can define these elements dynamically. And I assume that we're gonna do this here, yeah? Let me just put here a comment, get workflow steps data from headless CMS. So in order to do that, I'm going to take a look at the docs of content. I'm going to take a look at API reference and Management API version 2. Now, first of all, we're going to need the Content Management API SDK. Here we go. And obviously, just to make this easier, I'm gonna consume it from the CDN. I guess there is a possibility to do that. Get content, yeah. This is what I want, view on GitHub. Yeah, we can download it via NPM, but I want to use this one. Oh yeah, and we need RxJS as well, so I'm just going to put both of these in here. Now these do not need to have a preference over the sidoscape. These can be like this, that's fine. And then we need to make the first request. So I'm gonna do this here. So import management client from Kentico/content management. And then create the management client, right? This is something I need to do before I start getting the data. Yeah, I need to provide the project ID and an API key. So project ID is here, or also under API keys here. So I'm just going to put it there. And management API key, I'm going to copy that one. Don't worry, I'm going to reset it after this stream. So it's quite long anyway, so you can't really see everything here. So this should be good. Right, so we have that. Let's go back to workflows. And now we should be able to use the client. So here we're adding content item, but that's not what I want to do. I want to list all the steps here. So I'm just going to go back into the management API reference in docs content AI, and we're going to list all the workflows. So retrieve workflow steps. That's the first use case that I have here. So we're going to get here. We're going to need project ID, right? and we're going to need to authorize the request, which is fine. This is all done by the SDK. The only thing I need to do is do this, and then do client.list workflow steps to observable. And right, this is subscribe to response, and console fills the data. So in this case, we're gonna need to adjust this a bit. So here we have the data. Or if this does not succeed, we have an error right there. And we can console log it. I guess that wouldn't happen, but just so that we're covered. All right, now we have this whole part, the cytoscape. It needs to go in a function, because obviously we need to wait until the client finishes getting the data. So let's call this one function, or we can say, we can make it a constant that says generate diagram. And this is gonna get the workflows, or let's call it data, and we're gonna move this all the way here, move it one step to the right to be inside of that function. Perfect. Now here, when we have the workflow data, we're just gonna call generate diagram, and we're gonna need the response and items, I assume. But let's comment this out for now. Let's first console log the rest here and see what kind of data we're getting from the CMS, right? So I'm gonna open console right here and refresh this. Okay, cannot use import statement outside a module. That sounds fair. So let's see what this does. Okay, if you are using UMD bundles directly in browsers, you can find this library under content management global variable. So this is what I need to do, right? So instead of using the import here, oops, not the whole thing, but window content management, and client is going to be new content management dot management client, and we should be good to go. Perfect. Now we got some data here. Let's take a look. So we got the data. Data has 6 workflow steps, and each workflow step has an ID and a name. Now this is a good start, right? So we're just gonna take the data and pass it to the generate diagram. Not rest item, but rest data. And here we can do console log data to see what's happening. Now let's do it again. Perfect. Now we have, of course, this is still using the old static data set, but here we have all the workflow steps. So we can actually transform this into the elements. Yeah, let's see that here. So we can say data map, and this is going to be workflow or step. We can call this a step. And we're going to return an object. We can actually do it this way, so it's clear it's an object. And in this object, there is going to be data. And ID is going to be step dot, I think it was ID. Yeah, step dot ID. Title is going to be step dot name. And that's all. That's all that we're gonna need here. Yeah. We're not gonna focus on this part yet. So I'm just gonna comment this out for now. And I'm gonna call elements this this variable. So let's call this one elements. And we're gonna place that here instead of the static data set. Of course, we're missing comma here. And let's see if this is gonna work. Now this should generate all the workflow steps as nodes, but no arrows anywhere. Okay, perfect. So now this works. You see that we have draft, we have process, we have waiting for evaluation, waiting for approval, scheduled, published, archived, and so on. You see, that's exactly what we have here. So now let's focus on creating those edges here. So we have the data. This is fine, but we also need to figure out the edges, and that would be let's again take a look at the console. So you see, each workflow step has a transitions to array, and that array contains all the GUIDs of the targets. So what we can do is we're gonna need to run this for every step. Yeah, so we can do data map again for each step, and now we're gonna need here an array. Let's call this one, you know what, let's call this one edges. And we're gonna do a simple for each here. So for data for each. Oh, can we do it like this? Array.for each step. So each workflow step. Let's remove this. And we're gonna say that for every data, or for every step, transitions to, I think it was, transitions to. Now, if this is an array, we want to go through all those items. So we're going to do for each. And this will be a target ID. So for each target ID, what we want to do is we want to do edges, push a new object. And that object is going to be the same as this one. Yeah, essentially it's this this object that we want to create. So I'm going to remove this, and this is going to be data ID. Now this is going to be the source. Yeah, so in this case it's going to be step.id. This is the source of the edge, and the source is in the step variable. Now oh, sorry, my mistake. ID is gonna be just the ID of the edge. So ID, I guess this can be a new GUID, it doesn't really matter. Let's see, JavaScript generate GUID. Okay, we can actually create just a random number. Or we can do an increment. Yeah, we can put here like edge counter will be 0. And we can say that the ID is going to be, I'm not sure if the ID can be just a number. Let's try that. Edge counter ++. So we increment it every time we create one. And the source is going to be, as I said, step.id. And the target is going to be the target ID. Okay, now this should create all the data that we need. Okay, there is one extra bracket. Yeah, because this finishes the for each. and there should be the end of the parent for each. Now, this only fills the edges array. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to connect the elements and edges arrays. So what we can do is, let's see, JavaScript connect to arrays. I think I already covered this. Let me see. Oh, there's supposed to be a search button somewhere. Oh, here it is. Oh, I think I created the tutorial for working with arrays that contains this. Let me see if I can, oh, here it is. And it's supposed to be concat. No, it's actually not there. All right. Okay. Then let's take a look at W3 schools. So the first array.concat, and we assign it to a variable. Sorry, here we go. So elements, this is actually constant, so we're not going to be able to change it. So let me fix that. And let's say elements equals elements concat edges. Perfect. Now I'm just going to do here a quick console log to see that we're on the right path and see if this page works. Okay, it doesn't work the way how I would like it to work. Okay, we still have all the workflow steps there, so at least something. But this is not working the way we need. So let's see, data map for each step. Let's do a console log here to see if something's happening here. And there is. Okay, we got ID, we got the name, we got transitions too, so we should be fine. This is working well. Let's just, oh, okay, my mistake. I was actually concatenating the two arrays before I filled the other array, so my mistake. All right, let's see once again if this is gonna work. All right, now you see, we have the draft here, we have process, we have waiting for evaluation, waiting for approval, published, and archived and scheduled. Now the scheduled is a specific and special workflow state, but the rest works nicely. Yeah. Now the next thing I want to do, but I'm not sure if that's possible. Let's see. So there is a raw transitions to, yeah, we don't get any colors here, unfortunately. So the great thing would be to make this colored nicely, yeah. But what we can definitely do is for draft, we can make it red, and for scheduled and published, we can make it green, yeah. Because those colors are pretty much set. I mean, you can change them, I guess. Yeah, you can change them, but by default, these are always in these colors. And archived is obviously gray. So we can actually change that. Okay, style background color is this gray. But what we can do is we can define it the same way as title. So we can do data color. And we can say here that the color is going to be get color according to the step name. Yeah. And we're going to create here a new function called get color. And this is going to be just a simple switch. And case, this is going to be draft. We're going to return, I don't know what's red, F00, is that red? I think it is. In case this is published, Yeah, published. We're gonna return green. Okay, let me see. Red hex code. F00, nice. The only hex code that I remember. Okay, green is 0F0. Of course, red, green, and blue, right? Okay. And in case nothing works, then we're gonna return the default 666. Okay, now let's see if this looks any better. Okay, now this looks much better. So published is green, draft is red, but these things kind of blend together, you know, because they're all in one line. So let's see if we can do anything about that. Yeah, how can we influence? Okay, I'm just gonna Google for that. Cytoscape, elements, position. How can I set the start position of nodes in Cytoscape? Okay, let's see. Specify the positions on init in each element. Specify the positions in the preset layout options and use that layout at init. I think layout is probably gonna be better. I think that, yeah, we're using layout grid. So maybe layout is the thing to go. Oh, where do I have the, here it is. Okay, let's see. Is there some information about layouts? Here we go. Options, layout options. CUI layout random. So what layouts are available to us here? Style sheets, blah, blah, blah. JPEG, JSON. No, not what I'm looking for. Okay, let's see again. Getting started. And I'm gonna look for layout. Circle layout. Okay, here we got layouts, guys. So maybe this one would work, like to have all the steps in the star. Let's see. I want to see the code from that. Show that to me. Require layout. Okay, so it seems like this is the name of the layout. Let's try that. No, it doesn't work. No such layout as AVSDF. Did you forget to import it and use Cytoscape use? Probably. So let's try it again here. So these are demos. Okay, I want to see the base layouts here. From the core, programmer can run layouts after the import, blah, blah, blah. Layout. Layout name preset. Okay. What's that? Layout grid. No, it always uses grid. Okay, refer to layout documentation for the options it supports. So we can create our own layouts, that's fine. But what I want, okay, let's try random, if that's gonna work. I'm looking for quick wins here. Yeah, this is better, because now I finally see the arrows here, but it's all kind of a spread out. So not the best that I can achieve here. So let's see what else do we have here. Preset. Preset layout puts nodes in the positions you specify manually. That's not what I want to do, because I don't know how many of these I'm gonna have. Grid layout puts nodes in a well-spaced grid. So grid sounds like the best option for now. But what if we do like the number of rows at least 2? So we have at least 2 rows. Okay, now this is better. So it's defined, but it goes, you know, in 2 rows. I guess it creates 4 nodes and then continues with the rest. So this is much better, but not the best that we can do. What about circle? Okay, well, it works. It's not the best. What about concentric? Wow, okay. I guess it puts the most used ones in the middle, which is not that bad idea actually. What if we do avoid overlap to false, like here, avoid. Oh, it actually has avoid overlap. Okay, let's try true. Now it already has that, but it's still overlapping here quite a bit. Spacing factor. Maybe spacing is what I'm looking for. Applies a multiplicative factor to expand or compress the overall area that nodes take up. Yeah, let's take a look at some other options here. Breadth first puts node in a hierarchy based on a breadth first traversal of the graph. It's best suited to trees and forests in the default top-down mode. Okay, let's try that. Okay, not that bad. I can try this one. No, I'm not really trying that. Compound Spring Embedder uses a physics simulation to lay out graphs. It works well with non-compound graphs, and it has additional logic to support compound graphs well. Let's try it. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is, every time is different, but it actually creates this workflows nicely. I guess I would work on this more. Animation, refresh fit. Yeah, I think this one is quite good. And that's all for the layouts. So yeah, I think this is nice. Of course, it'd be nice to figure out how to make the names not, you know, overlap each other. But I think for this, it looks kind of nice. I'm just trying to find if there is a way how we can make it. Let's try to increase the padding here. We do 100. No, It doesn't seem to make a difference. Okay, component spacing. Maybe that's what I'm looking for. No, still not that good. What if we do like bigger number? Okay, so this this is way too far away. So yeah, I guess that this is gonna require some tweaking, you know. But the important thing is that we can model the workflow this way. Of course, we can take the information about the colors from here to this visualizer too, because we don't have that in the API, right? So we have to take these things here, just like I did with the published and draft. But that's possible. I mean, it's just a few clicks and it should be good to go. And it gives you a nice overview. So we start always with draft, and you know exactly that it can go to process, then to each of these, and then to published. Yeah. And of course, it can go from published to draft. I don't think that we have that here, but that's always the case. Yeah, that from published and then go to draft. So we'd probably have to spend some time figuring out the cases, how to get, you know, the by default supported transitions. The same goes from published to archived and from scheduled to published. So whatever works for published works for scheduled too. So that's that. But all right, I think that this is nice and working. So you see, just a little bit of Management API, JavaScript library that is able to draw diagrams, and it kind of works together. So that's nice. All right, I think that's good for today. To not make it too big of a deal from this. So thanks for watching, guys. I don't see any questions. If you do have some, let me know. I'll do my best to finish this tomorrow to make it a bit nicer and you know, support also different projects than the one that I just created here. But thanks for watching. I'll share this via Twitter. If you have any topics that you would like to know more about, let me know. And I'll see you again next week. And I hope that next week I'm gonna have the new visuals as well. So we'll see if I can make it. All right, so have a great weekend. Have a great next week. And I'll see you here again Thursday, 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. actually, GMT.